Yeah, I love the main topic. And you guys can call us about anything, but like we're going over the Mount Rushmore of Ohio State wide receivers. Obviously, the zenith of this idea was at Media Days, J.J. Smith was asked for his personal Mount Rushmore of Ohio State receivers, and I give him credit for not putting him on there himself, although I think he should be on there, but he went with Ted Ginn Jr., Chris Carter.
Let's just play it for him.
Let's
let him hear what Jeremiah Smith had to say this week out of Big Ten Media Days.
One, you got to go the great Chris Carter.
Okay. Yeah, that's one. It's two.
You got to go. I'm going to throw Marvin there.
Yep. That's three.
I'm going to go Jax.
Okay. Who's four? Well, I got a lot.
Dude, can't go wrong with nobody, really. I'm going to go Ted Ginn Jr.
Ooh.
So there
Who wants to be a millionaire under that?
I don't know. Somebody put that on there.
It was. And I still think the wheels were in motion when they asked him for four, and he was thinking, should I say me? I probably shouldn't. It's definitely me, but I probably shouldn't. Because he's so humble. He's almost too good to be true, Ryan. But it's such a good topic.
So those four were Chris Carter, Marvin Harrison Jr., Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Ted Ginn Jr. So we want to hear your Mount Rushmore of Ohio State wide receivers and whatever you want to talk about in the sports world. 614-821-9710 is the number. Again, 614-821-9710. You can also chime in over at the YouTube chat as well. Our favorite callers today, we have 2 pairs of tickets to the Pro Football Hall of Fame to give away to 2 of those callers. And, of course, we always have some dining credits to the ESPN Sportsbook at Hollywood Casino. 614-821-9710, the numbers. My Mount Rushmore of Ohio State wide receivers, if you were listening to On the Money earlier, were Chris Carter, Marvin Harrison Jr., Joey Galloway, and Chris Olave. You had just a little bit different take on yours.
Yeah, pretty close, because I agree with you. I think there's 2 that it'd be hard to leave off. I think almost everybody, I don't want to speak for everybody, would have Chris Carter and Marvin Harrison Jr. on there. Marvin Harrison Jr., Biletnikoff winner and the only 2-time first-team All-American, unanimous from this, or I should say consensus. I believe he was unanimous anyway, but the only 2-time All-American wide receiver at Ohio State. Then I have Jeremiah Smith, and then it was almost like a tie between Joey Galloway and Terry Glenn, as I explained in the previous show. I'm giving Joey Galloway the edge for this reason. Terry Glenn was a Biletnikoff winner, and Joey never was. But Terry Glenn, his big season in 95, got to play with fifth-year senior Bobby Hoying, new offensive coordinator Walt Harris. Joey Galloway, 93, his big year, played with first-year starter Bobby Hoying, and not a good offensive coordinator with Jim Coletto. So for those reasons, I give Galloway the edge. Both were early NFL picks. Both had good NFL careers. Both could absolutely fly. Galloway could also bench like over 500 pounds. So you really couldn't go wrong either way with those 2 gentlemen. But give me Joey Galloway as my 4th and final one.
So our list pretty similar. You've got Jeremiah on there already. I think a lot of people would have him on there already. I don't think there's any doubt after this year or next year when he leaves Ohio State and heads off to the NFL that Jeremiah Smith will be on there. So if you do a true Mount Rushmore of just 4, I feel like in 2 years from now, you're going to have Chris Carter, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Jeremiah Smith that are locks, that are going to be just about on everybody's list. Then you're just going to be debating one spot, and that's going to be so hard. But those are good problems to have. Again, 614-821-9710 is the number. Call in and give us your Mount Rushmore of Ohio State wide receivers, or we'll talk about anything you want to in the sports world. Again, 2 pairs of tickets to the Pro Football Hall of Fame to give away to 2 of our favorite callers today. And, Bids, this is an awesome topic because you could talk about not just wide receivers but with Ohio State, but you could do this at every position, and all of them would probably be just about as hard as this one.
Yeah, like if you did running back, obviously Archie is on there. I'm definitely having Keith Byers on there. I'm definitely having Zeke on there. And I think I'm having J.K. Dobbins on there. I hate leaving some of these guys off that I'm thinking of right now. Like, how am I leaving Beanie Wells off? Like,
how am I leaving Eddie George off?
Oh, Eddie George is on there. Eddie, I knew Eddie was on there. If you win the Heisman, you're on. Eddie's on there. But so many great ones. I mean, Tim Spencer was a great one. Byers should have been a Heisman, but he wasn't. I mean, the 2 guys we had last year, how are you going to leave like Trey and Q off? But like, yeah, I would go with gosh, who am I going to leave off then now? You got to go with Archie. You got to go with Eddie. Okay. Jeez, this is too tough. I have to have Keith. I have to have Keith Byers on there. And then I'm going to, I'll give Zeke the edge over. I can't believe I'm going to leave the only 2,000-yard rusher in
so
school
difficult.
history off my Mount Rushmore and J.K. Dobbins. But you're saying, who would you rather have? It's a big game. Who would you rather have right now in their prime? Zeke or J.K.? They're both great. Zeke gets the edge from me.
It's a great topic to think about. Again, 614-821-9710 is the number. That's the number Mike called. Mike, good morning. You're on the Fan Call-In Show. You want to talk about your Mount Rushmore?
Yeah. So, before I say this, I have to preface this. I was a real, ball watcher as an Ohio State fan. So, my Mount Rushmore starts off first with Danny Sanzenbacher. So, that's a real, early 2010s. I just imagine him catching the end zone, and then throwing up that's back when they had the logos on the gloves.
Yes.
I used to love that as a kid. So Danny Sanzenbacher to start.
Dane Sanzenbacher.
Yes, and then after that, I got Devin Smith because I remember he was just catching bombs on bombs on bombs on that 2014 national championship run. Then after that, I got Marv. You got to pay your respects to Marv. And then I'm going to end with Garrett Wilson because Garrett Wilson was catching everything on everybody.
That's a great call, Mike, and we're going to put you on hold and hang on the line. We're going to have Nate get your info. You can get those tickets to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Listen, our guy Dane, right here at the Fan.
How about that?
I mean,
I thought you were going to go DeVere Posey on
he
me as
might
well.
be one of the most underrated Ohio State wide receivers of all time, but very productive. Went on to play in the NFL for a little while. I love Dane getting some love there. And listen, it's one of those things, right? It's hard to argue with any of those. Our guy Nate had Devin Smith on his. Garrett Wilson is a guy that, just signed a big deal with the Jets, right? He was great at Ohio State as well. It's the beauty of this because there are so many ways to go.
Yeah, Michael Jenkins, we know him as Mr. Clutch. And for as great as Krenzel was, he was a gritty winner, leader, clutch. Do we consider Krenzel one of the best passing quarterbacks to come through here, in the last 30 years? No, we do not. But Michael, that's who Michael Jenkins played with. And he left this school as the all-time leading receiver as far as receiving yards. Who are his quarterbacks? Again, it was Craig Krenzel, and before that, Steve Bellisari. All right, he wasn't playing with C.J. Stroud and Dwayne Haskins and Justin Fields on a Ryan Day offense or a Will Howard and a Ryan Day offense. So there's so many we could go with. And Jenkins was so clutch. We know about Holy Buckeye, but what about 4th and 14? Mm-hmm. There were many. There was one against Wisconsin that was extremely clutch. Go on and on. And he's not even in the top 10 probably. Michael, and he was a first-round pick by the Falcons. Unbelievable.
I think we forget that he was a first-round draft pick, number 29 by the Falcons. And listen, he was Ohio State's all-time receiving yards leader until Emeka passed him this past year.
Do you see what you've done, Brian Hartline? We thought we had a good lineage of wide receivers. Are you ready? Before Hartline arrived, it'd be okay. All right, we had Chris Carter, Paul Warfield. We're going to go old school there, back in the 3 yards in a cloud of dust era. Paul Warfield's got to be on that list, right? We got Chris Carter, we got Terry Glenn, David Boston, Joey Galloway. We're good, Ted Ginn. And then Brian Hartline comes in here, and Brian Hartline was a good receiver in his own right when he was at Ohio State. Brian Hartline comes in here and turns Ohio State into the factory of wide receivers. Every year they have 1 or 2 guys go in the first round, and then they don't even skip a beat. They lose Emeka Egbuka, and this year I think this might be the best wide receiver room I've seen, despite losing a great leader and a great player and a first-round pick in Emeka.
And as we talk about this and we say we could do this for every position at Ohio State and have the same kind of argument that we're having with wide receiver. I'm seeing the video of James Laurinaitis Friday night at the Crew game being the match igniter. I mean, it's no wonder that dude has turned into the coach he is and recruiting linebackers like he is. I mean, the dude is just a showman and more than that, just a great dude. And we know that's how you recruit, is building relationships. And there's no one better than James. And I would have to think James would just about be a lock to be on the linebacker Mount Rushmore at Ohio State.
But
right?
then you think about it. Okay, then you got to go Randy Gradishar, Tom Cousineau, Chris Spielman, Marcus Merrick has to be on that mountain. He's the all-time leading tackler. I mean, Dude, it'd be pretty tough. Andy Katzenmoyer, Steve Tovar.
So many good ones.
I mean, I think James would be on there, considering like some of his, accolades and everything he did. But it might not be as much of a slam dunk as we think when you think of like some of those linebackers they had back in the day. And by the way, when it went was when, especially after Chris Spielman wore the number 36 before him, Merrick, before him, some of the other guys I mentioned. I figured every good middle linebacker going forward would wear the number 36. We've had Brian Roll since then. I thought maybe Gabe Powers, but he's already transferred. So I was kind of hoping that number 36 would catch on, Ryan Baker.
614-821-9710. That is the number.